There's been a lot of incredible NASCAR races over the years, which I look forward to eventually covering, but there's also been many terrible races as well, and today we're going over what I consider to be the worst race in NASCAR history. When you see this chart right here, I want you to guess which one I have as the worst race. You got the 2022 Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, the 2025 Chicago Street Course, or the 2008 Brickyard 400. If you guessed Brickyard 400 from 2008, well, guess what? Surely I wouldn't be the 19th NASCAR YouTuber to make a video on this race, right? No, I am, in fact, choosing this race to cover this video on, and if you thought these other two races were bad, then I don't think you're watching the right sport. But congratulations, it's the 2008 Brickyard 400. You guessed correct. It was the worst race, in my opinion, for multiple reasons, which we're going to look at what happened, why it happened, and the lasting effect that this race had that severely tarnished NASCAR's reputation at the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. NASCAR took to Indianapolis in 1994, 6 years before I was born actually, and while it's not as big as the obvious Indy 500, it was still a huge event. Even qualifying for this race would draw a larger crowd than like what we see at many cup races in this era. So look at that. I mean, there is a huge amount of people just watching qualifying at this track. An absolutely incredible sight to see. Every year, like, NASCAR was packing the grandstands for what was arguably the biggest race in NASCAR outside of the obvious Daytona 500, including in where we come to 2008, where once again the stands were absolutely packed for what would be, unfortunately, the last time in the NASCAR history of this track. Before the race, there was already an understood unknown of the tire life that they talked about in the pre-race after some issues on Saturday.
The big question marks there are tires.
The fuel tanks will take them about 30-35 laps, but these tires are such an unknown. These guys have no idea how far they'll go later in this race. NASCAR is going to give them a competition yellow at lap 10 and probably another one after another 10 or 12.
So NASCAR plans to throw a competition yellow on lap 10 of this race. So after Jimmy Johnson leads the field to green from pole position, well, we didn't even make it to lap 10 as the caution came out on lap 4 because of this guy right here, Michael Waltrip. Now, to be fair, this actually was not from a tire issue. No, this was just Michael Waltrip crashing himself on the 4th lap of the race. Lap 14, though, is where things maybe start to go wrong. Kurt Busch loses control, collects Kevin Harvick in the process, and the way he lost control, they assumed maybe the right rear tire went down, and however, Kurt Busch would confirm that was not the case. He said that he just actually made a mistake in his interview. So at this point in time, we haven't had a tire failure bring out a caution, but this was the caution that did kind of kickstart the downfall of this race. And most of the field, they would come down to the pits, they would get new Goodyear tires, and as well gave the team opportunities to look at their tires and assess the condition.
But we did see a little bit of cording on the right rear in that short amount of laps, but I think that it's going to get a little bit better.
It did not get a little bit better.
Yeah, the good news is he thinks it's a left side tire that's going down right here. He's trying to get down in here and get to pit road.
Caution. Caution is out.
Left side of your screen.
Tire just comes apart, and then you see problems with the 99 car right here too. He's having a tire issue right here as he slowed down. He had moved all the way up to second, but now he's got a tire issue. About 10 laps looks like it's the most that they can go here.
I can make it around,
Oh,
I think.
Matt Kenseth's it around. He knew he had slowed down and blew a right rear tire.
Whoa, and there it was. Oh, look at the pieces coming apart. Part of the window coming out.
You're going close to 200 miles an hour at the end of these straightaways, and when that tire does go flat and the pieces start flying, I mean, it's a lot of force.
It is what it is. It's like we said, don't complain. This is what we have. You know how to race it. We know how to pit it. We're going to outlast them all day.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Tires are failing like crazy. We're lucky to even make it to the competition yellow, and each yellow, the teams have no choice, but they got to come down, they got to take tires. The right side tires were failing more than the lefts, so there was an option where you could like take 4 tires one stop, then the next stop you would like take 2 tires. You in reality only need to survive like 10 laps, but that was that was a challenge. And the lefts, they also still weren't completely safe. And after we made it to the midway point of this race, we actually made it another run to a competition yellow on lap 83, and things were actually starting to look a little bit better after all of these tire issues. And Jimmie Johnson has like effectively been dominating the race to this point. But we would have Mike Helton come into the TV booth to address the tire issues mid-race, and you know what's bad when Mike Helton's coming in to address an issue.
We'll keep managing this. They talk up and down pit road of the wear getting a little bit better, but certainly, you know, 70 some or 80 some laps now into this race. In the past, when we've had similar situations, it's got a lot better by this point.
Now, what we were all wondering is why? Why is this happening? Keep in mind, NASCAR was in its first full season of the brand new car of tomorrow that everybody still hates to this day, except for me, because actually when I started watching NASCAR, it was like 2008, 2009 as a like 8 and 9 year old, and I thought that was like the coolest race car ever, and therefore I'm still nostalgic for it. So like when I grew up with NASCAR, that was this was NASCAR to me. This car with this splitter and this big wing on the back of it, I thought was the coolest thing ever. So I'm sorry if that triggers you. However, Robert Pemberton actually mentioned a big change in setups of the cars after a Goodyear tire test at the same track previously might have played a role in the issues. But simply put, after testing, you know, Goodyear developed a tire that simply wasn't fit for the race it was used in, and unfortunately it just happened to be on like one of the largest races of the season for a massive amount of people to witness, not only in the grandstands but on TV as well. So we've reached a point where cars are actually making it now to the competition yellow. That's being thrown like on average every 10 to 12 laps, but there's still some tire issues developing on the cars, like the number 43 of Bobby Labonte actually pitting as his tires going down and as the competition caution was like literally coming out, and he would get a penalty because he had not gotten into the pit lane on time. But we weren't like at the point anymore where we were seeing these major blowouts and the cautions coming like we saw earlier in the race. NASCAR, like, they were forced nonetheless. They got to keep throwing these cautions on a consistent basis. This is the kind of path they've gone down for this race, and they stuck to it all the way up to the final competition yellow being thrown with 10 laps to go in Indianapolis, where Jimmie Johnson, by the way, is still looking pretty good to win this race. And thankfully, the race did go green until the end, and after all the chaos and frustration, Jimmie Johnson still wins anyways on his quest of what would be his third straight title in 2008. I never got to watch this race live as an 8-year-old at the time, but my first time watching the Brickyard 400 was in 2013, and I thought that half-empty grandstands were like a normal thing, because you could tell, I mean, I was a kid, but I knew that was a huge racetrack, and there's a lot of grandstands there. I thought it was completely normal that they were like half-empty. There was like 240,000 people in attendance in the 2008 race that witnessed the worst NASCAR race ever. Could you imagine that many people? Look at all that. That's at least 5 people plus a few 100,000, and they all witnessed the worst NASCAR race right in front of their eyes, and as well a lot of people on TV. And it's a shame because the track itself, Indianapolis, did nothing wrong, but the effects are still felt here just for NASCAR specifically. I mean, in 2009 there was an immediate attendance fall off, which dipped below 200,000 people, and can you really blame them? I mean, imagine like if you're in the grandstand. I don't think I'd go back. It's in the middle of the summer, you're sitting in the grandstands, right? And it's a great race you're thinking you're coming to that you paid great money for, and you're having to watch drivers, also to no fault on them, they had to not push 100% effort into their car because of the risks of the tire failures. The cautions are coming out every 10 or so laps of the race. You're not getting to see proper racing, and it would just be honestly miserable. I don't know what the temperature was that day, but I feel like it would have been absolutely miserable. There was no chance I would pay to go back to an experience like that. And I mean, we didn't have those tire issues to follow, but still, that would leave such a bad taste in your mouth as a spectator. Honestly, NASCAR, like, they should have done some like program where they like pay to like people to go to like next year's race or something. Like I would pay people, be like, please come to our race. We're sorry, but NASCAR, they suffered their trust with Indianapolis in the crowd in 2008, and its attendance would continue to get worse to the point where in 2025 we had approximately 70,000 people in attendance, which we had over 200,000 in 2008. To be fair, 70,000, still quite a large number for people attending a NASCAR race. But after the tire debacle, I mean, let's be real, the races there also, on top of that, they've been pretty boring. Even like the race most fans consider to be like the best modern Brickyard 400, it was 2017, which in my personal opinion was downright terrible until the two dominant cars did that. They wrecked each other, and that literally saved the race, because the first half was downright terrible, but we seem to always forget about that. We always focus on the chaos at the end, and oh yeah, the race was great suddenly. But even in next gen, the races aren't that great, and only Kyle Larson made it somewhat bearable in 2024 with his push through the field with his IndyCar style moves. I mean, NASCAR's tried switching to the road course to revive themselves and their brand at this track. That didn't work. They switched back to the oval just a couple years ago, which saw a small increase in attendance, but nothing really noteworthy. It's just been a really frustrating downfall to watch of this really incredible racetrack that NASCAR after 2008 has not been able to revive themselves, and they've tried. I just don't see it happening, to be completely honest, especially now with the way the sport is. I mean, let's look at it this way. If you're a fan of just motorsports in general, and in Indianapolis, of course, and you have to choose between going to the Indy 500 or the Brickyard 400, which one are you going to choose? Maybe if you're on this channel, you're going to choose a NASCAR race. But the cars, you're going to choose the cars that go 230 miles per hour plus and make these incredible moves where you can really feel the thrill and the danger of the speed? Or are you going to pay money to go watch Cup cars currently that barely get to 200 miles per hour anymore, and they get stuck in dirty air? You tell me, which one are you going to choose? I think most people are going to choose the Indianapolis 500, and I think that, well, the attendance and statistics show exactly that as well. In the end, it's just really frustrating to me as a fan that came in after this as a kid, not knowing the history of Indianapolis and the crown jewel. I mean, it was the crown jewel after the Daytona 500, and I grew up not really feeling like it was a crown jewel. The races were never really that good to me, and you know, it just, like I said, it didn't have that aura, it didn't have that presence like it was a crown jewel, and now as well, it still doesn't really feel like a proper crown jewel. And I would have loved, whenever I'm thinking about older races, I always wish, you know, I enjoy being, you know, somewhat young, but I also wish I could go back and have been like born before like 2000 and experience like the mid 90s and early 2000s of NASCAR, and experience the Brickyard 400 in the crown jewel that it was, and how desired it was to win this just incredible race. And I'm sure that the drivers still find this race to be a big deal, but for me, like, I've never gotten to experience that, and I'm fully confident that this 2008 tire debacle is what fed into that happening into the mid 2010s, and obviously where we are now. And like I said earlier, I just don't see a path to NASCAR revival at this venue. NASCAR's got a lot of problems right now on top of that, so and there are way more concerning issues than trying to revive themselves at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so I don't think it's really a top priority for them right now. But this race, all it took was one horrible race in front of a large amount of people to absolutely ruin this event for now almost 20 consecutive years going. It has never quite been the same, and I just hope one day, maybe in the long-term future, that narrative changes, but we can only hope. My mic screwed up just after I finished this part, but literally just the outro remained, and I just wanted to thank you guys for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love your feedback and comments on the discussion that we just had here in today's episode. Next video, I'm going to be going over the new championship format in this style of video that NASCAR is announcing, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.